So, hello everyone. I was uh, getting some messages, and I told you guys before that if I get political things, I'll definitely be putting them out there. So there's a trigger warning. If you're not watching politics, you don't want to hear about it, it's fine. Turn it off. You can tomorrow night I'll be on for Spirit Speaks. We'll be talking to Abraham Lincoln. Don't know if you've heard of him. See what he thinks about this mess. Um, but I did want to bring you a few messages that I hope will be helpful. Um, so if you haven't guessed and you don't know, this whole thing about LA, at least for Trump, is about his big boy birthday party on Saturday. He doesn't want a bunch um, of demonstrations and protests around the country, eclipsing his big boy day with all his tanks and his army men, and he doesn't want that. So that's what all this is about for him. It's very self-centered, personal, that kind of thing. So that's why he's doing what he's doing. What he's hoping is to do this in lots of cities and make everyone afraid to come out. It's not going to happen. Okay, it's not going to happen. But that's why this is happening, and that's why he's pushing this. Now, Stephen Miller has a different agenda, but is kind of pushing for the same thing, right? He just wants to, whatever, round up every person who's not white, basically, is what he wants. He's all of these people to different degrees are mentally ill, have psychiatric issues that they should be going to a psychiatrist for and not working it out on our dime, um, and putting us through all of this. But this is, I'm just being honest about what what I'm getting and what's going on here. But so anyway, but that's what this is about, right? And so what I wanted to let you know is a couple of things that I wanted to go back to, because so many of the things that are happening are things that the guide said would happen. So it's startling because it's here, but it's not a surprise because we got the heads up, right? That this is the kind of stuff that would be happening. Um, Ultimately, it's destined to fail, and it's ultimately going to fail. There is a time limit for these people, right? And that's why you're starting to see a little more movement, and you will see this kind of like movement forward and then kind of backtracking a little bit, and it's kind of just how it's going to be, and pushing what they can and trying to get through what they can, but it's not going to be everything, and there will be people caught in the crossfire. That's the way these things work. They hurt people, right? And so, but a couple of things I wanted to bring up, and ultimately why this is going to fail. Something we talked about before, which is that when the guide said that they they all have different agendas. They may meet in the middle on certain things they want to do, like this next weekend, right? They have certain things they want to do, but for different reasons. And these agendas are going to start clashing more and more. And as because I'll let you know that after Saturday, they're going to be freaked out, and they're going to be kind of pushing all the levers because they don't know what to do. But last time we had a giant protest it was all over the country. I think it was back in March, I want to say. It was 800 cities, in all 50 states, but 800 cities around the country. This time it's going to be 1,800. So you can see how popular they're not. And you can see how nervous that might make them. That's fine. We're going to keep doing this, right? We're going to keep coming out. And I do feel like it's going to be mostly peaceful. And that's the problem for them is when it's peaceful, they can't really do anything. They have to just kind of let it be. Um, they can send in bad actors and kind of do some of the stuff they did during Black Lives Matter, but for the most part, they don't let it happen. Um, so so that's what's going to be happening. And it's very interesting because I want to go back to a video that I did about, I can't remember if it was two separate videos or in one video, but talking about how in the end we're all going to come together. And again, for different reasons, right? Some people are very upset about this immigration stuff because it's not what they were thinking you're going to round up people that are criminals, right? Not just people that own restaurants and are working in our fields and things like that. They didn't, people had a different idea of what this would look like. And they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're picking up kids or you're going to graduations and stuff. Now, there's some people that love this and think it's great because they're just the way they are. But there are a lot of people who are like, this is not at all what we thought was you were going to do. This is weird and ridiculous. So they don't like it. And some people, as we've talked about, it has to happen to them for them to feel this is wrong, right? And so you're going to have a lot of that happening to farmers, happening to veterans, happening to, they feel it themselves, or they see it in their own community, or they see it in their own, and then they get it and they start to have the empathy that they need to have to see this is not okay. And we saw it was going to be all these different areas, right? And even in the area of with FEMA and all that stuff. So all of these things are very unpopular. And he's the most unpopular since the last time he was unpopular in the presidency. So he's very unpopular. He's not popular, and becoming less so every day. And I wanted to bring up that video because it was when they talked about the storm, and they used, for me, they used the reference of going to Utah and the summer storms that we would have, and they would kind of roll out, and they would have, you'd hear the thunder in the background. It's very ominous, and when it's over you, it just feels like the roof's going to cave in. But it talked about sort of getting prepared, looking out for your neighbors, right? Which is very interesting because that's exactly what's happening. People are coming out for their neighbors, for their community. And that's another message they brought through, was protecting your neighbors, protecting your community, and knowing that you'll know when the time is right that you need to do something. So protect your energy. Keep checking in every day with your guides by sitting in stillness for a couple minutes a day, and it will give you that flow of communication so that they can tell you, okay, this is your time. This is the time you need to act. This is the time you need to go. Because we cannot possibly respond to every single thing that's going to be happening. It's not going to be possible. And so we're going to have to make sure that we're in tune to know when it is our time to act. And I'm telling you, for next weekend, a lot of people are going to be getting that nudge. I know we're going out. We have a thing right by us. We're going to go. So look, if you feel moved to take part, look for the place closest to you and go take part in it. Just show up to the rally. If you're by yourself, go and have some fun. It's protesting. The other reason that dictators and people like that don't like it is because it makes people know they're not alone. Oh, you feel this way too? So do I. We're not alone, right? And this is where I want to roll into the next thing I was going to talk about, which is this recent thing that I think a lot of people, it freaked them out to see it because it had to do with the military. And this is this speech that Trump gave. And this is why I'm basically on here, because I got this nudge to, you need to get on and tell people this. He was recently at Fort Bragg giving I think it was a graduation or something. I'm not sure even why he was there, but he was giving a speech, Trump was, and he started talking about the Democrats and Gavin Newsom and being woke and blah, blah, blah. And they were cheering and booing and doing all the things that the military is not supposed to do. But while I was watching it, I kept getting messages that were saying fake, smoke and mirrors, don't believe it. So whatever was happening there was staged. So, and I'm not saying that it wasn't real soldiers or it wasn't real. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying that it was done in a way that made it look like, see, I've got the military behind me. And it really was, it was a setup in a way that I don't know how they did it. I don't know if they went to the soldiers and said, listen, who loves Trump the most here? You get to be behind him in the speech. Um, you know, also maybe knowing the area, maybe knowing, I don't know, but I kept getting those messages. So there's something to this. And we know that he did this all the time through the campaign. Nothing's ever what it seems to be. He's always BSing. And he waves to fake crowds. He waves to people that aren't there when he gets on the airplane just to pretend like, see how popular I am? People are waving at me. And it's part of the playbook for authoritarians. I've got the military behind me. I've got these people behind me. I'm so popular and you're alone. You're in your living room. You can't do anything and nobody's around you. And that's what it's meant to do. It's meant to make us sit there and feel like, what is going on? And start to shrink and feel intimidated and feel small and feel like we're alone. I feel like now he's got the military. He's sending them in here and he's talking to him there. It's by design. And it isn't what the military thinks. At least that's not what I'm getting. I'm feeling like a lot of military were very offended by that. They don't like what's happening. Veterans are completely done with Trump. So there's a lot happening, okay? And I want you to realize that there may be a kernel of truth to some things, but most of it's not true. Um, so that's what I'm getting. And so I wanted to pop on and let you know that there isn't really anything happening that we didn't see coming. The guides basically said this summer, and oh, that was the other thing, is that when they used that analogy or that the imagery of the Utah storm, it was always in the summer. Those when the and so I felt like what I missed was something very obvious, which is that this is the summer. It's going to kind of be a stormy. It's going to be as the storm hits, right? Part of what that video, you go back and watch it, but part of that video was about what happens before the storm, right? The it starts to get dark. It's very ominous. It's very loud, and so that's also kind of what we're seeing, these weird things coming out of Congress and these weird people and the things they're saying, and it's terrible, and it's, and then the actual storm. And that was interesting too, because they showed lightning hitting, but only in certain places, because that's how lightning is. It's very random, but it does strike in certain places. So we kind of maybe knew that, you know, immigration was going to be a thing that was going to be targeted, and certain people and places would be targeted, right? But it kind of seems random at the same time, right? So that there would be these things happening, but a lot of it would be a lot of just the fear, the scariness of it, the what's going to happen next of it, which is what happens in a storm. But they also talked about during a storm in Utah, because they had it all around that. we would, prepare, because that was the other thing they talked about, was preparing. We'd get candles and we'd all come together and we'd check on each other and make sure everybody was okay and make sure everybody had what they needed. And this could go into, literally preparing for the storms that may be coming through the summer, the hurricane season and all of that, but also, um, preparing for, what happens if I lose my job or I lose my Medicaid, or preparing in that way, like thinking, what would be the scenario? And is there somebody I could stay with for a while or live with? Or is there money I can pull out of somewhere that I can have just in case? Or so preparing the best that we can for wherever our Achilles heels may be, or wherever our blind spots might be, preparing for that, right? We're in California, so we have our go bags, we have our water, and we have our food, and we have, and there's also other things we're thinking about now, because of what's happening in California, right? So we're thinking about those things too. So looking at your situation and looking at your community and your neighbors and what's going on there. So preparing the best that you can. The other things we would bring in, besides the physical things like the candles and the food and moving stuff from the freezer and blah, 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 we'd also have distractions. We bring out the cards and the board games and stuff like that to make sure that we were occupied, make sure that we had things that distracted us and that we enjoyed and that were good. So I feel like don't forget that stuff too. Don't forget the things that you can bring in where you don't have to worry about, you don't have to watch the news, you don't have to know what's going on, you don't have to. So bringing in those distractions as well to keep your spirits up, to keep yourself happy and joyful through this, because it does not have to be the summer of Trump, the summer of politics, even though that's happening. And there may be the points where it does become more personal. And so we have to take more a personal approach to it, the challenge, right? Meeting that challenge. But a lot of it is going to be seeing what's happening over here and seeing what's happening over here. And if there isn't things we can do, going into a place of joy, going into a place of distraction, protecting our energy. That's when we go into that protection of energy thing, because we'll be needing it at another point when we are asked to take part, or we feel that nudge from spirit to get involved in a more personal way. But we can't do it for everything, because we will wear ourselves out before June is done, right? So we have to think long term, at least through the summer, right? There's something very specific they were trying to get across for this summer. So, so thinking about that as well. It's a hard video to do because it's so wide, and so there are lots of ways that our attention and our energy is going to try to be pulled, and they made it very clear, do not let that happen. You're in charge of your energy, and so you protect it at all costs. You protect it because you will be called to serve in some way at some point. We probably all will be on some level. So protect your energy. And when you don't need to expend it and you don't need to use it, don't. Hold on, because there will be times that you will be asked to, and you will feel the need to. You feel like you want to, or things will be happening in your own area with your own neighbors, with your own community, and you won't be exhausted. You'll be ready to go. And how do you protect your energy? Think about the lightness and heaviness, right? Things that make you feel heavy and weighed down, avoid those things. If it's people, if it's, going to certain people's houses, put up those boundaries, don't do it, or do it for a shorter period of time. If it's watching the news or other things that make you feel heavy, things at work, pace yourself. Protect your energy from things that make you feel that way, because that's telling you that your vibration is lowering. When you start to feel that heaviness, that burden, that weight upon, that kind of stuff, that's telling you your vibration is lowering. Lightness, fun, joy. What brings you joy? What brings fun in for you? What makes you feel calm? What makes you feel unburdened? Working in my garden, sitting with my pets, going to the beach and taking walks, and whatever those things are, more of that, right? And this is just in the day to day, right? Um, Yeah, and then not moving into fear. That's one of the most important things, because fear is our brain. Spirit doesn't move into fear. That's not your guides. If you're moving into that fearful state, that's your brain. Don't move into fear. And our guide, and my guides, and I'm sure your guides too, have constantly counseled, do not move into fear. We are the majority. We're going to be fine. There will be things happening. We will witness things. Um, Stay out of judgment, because we don't know people's personal spiritual, things that they have coming and they have in their life, and things that they've agreed to. We don't know that stuff. And we also don't know what if there's a bigger lesson for the community, right? I think of that woman who was taken by ICE, Carol, who was she was a restaurateur. I think she was the owner of the restaurant. It was like a diner kind of place, and that was a Trump community, and they all came out for her. They had T-shirts and they were there all the time, and they released her, right? These communal things that are happening are working. They released Abreu. I always get his name wrong. Garcia released him. Released the two high school kids that were taken. They released them. These things work. And now people are seeing that they work, so you're going to see more of it. So we may witness stuff like that that's disturbing, but that it turns out okay. So don't lose hope, and don't move into fear. And when you see things that, oh, that's upsetting, let the community rally for them. And just stay in a good place and a hopeful place. Send prayers, love, and light. And then if it comes to your community, when it does, or if it does, you'll be ready. We can do this. We're so much stronger than we think we are. And yeah, we can do this. We can do this. I know the opening of Rachel Maddow's show was very uplifting. And she showed all of these different places where protests have worked. The community coming together has worked. Look what we did to Musk, a billionaire that, and people ran him out of town. They're like, your stocks are going to plummet and you're out of here, right? So we can do this. Stay hopeful, stay up, keep your vibration high, protect your energy, check in every day with your guides just by getting still. You don't have to do anything, just get still and get quiet. Quiet your mind just for a couple of minutes a day to keep to get that communication flowing, so they can reach you when it's your time to go or to leave or to do whatever. They'll be able to reach you, and have faith that will happen. We're all reachable by our guides. We really, really are. So yeah, we've got this. We really, really do. But I wanted to give you that message about that weird staged thing that happened, because that was upsetting. And I know people it probably made people afraid. And that's the point. Don't move into fear. We have got this. We can do this. Okay. That's all I want to tell you. Okay. So everyone take care, and go back and watch some of the other videos that I did about like I said, about the storm, about that we're all going to come together in the end. Maybe not all for the same reasons, but we are all going to come together because he's pissing everybody off. Everybody. Except for a small minority, and they're shrinking by the day. So, yeah, hang in there, everybody. It's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. Um, we're going to get through this. Okay. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.